It's been very cool to see the technology be a magnet for ideas and just allow folks to innovate, not just for the immediate business goals, but I think also just to upskill our employee base for whatever is next that we try to go after.
Welcome back to the DraftKings Life podcast. I'm Rebecca, a recruitment marketing lead. And on today's episode, we're talking all about AI at DraftKings. From engineering to marketing, our teams are embracing the technology to move faster, build smarter, and rethink how we work. I'm so excited to be joined by Jeff and Celeste, two teammates who are really driving the innovation here. Celeste, could you introduce yourself for us?
Hi, I am Celeste Cephalou. I've been at DraftKings for 4.5 years. I actually started on the product design team, and then I moved over into AI product in April of this year.
Amazing.
I'm Jeff Singer. I've been at DraftKings for almost 10 years now, and I lead the product platform engineering team.
When was the moment that AI really became a meaningful part of your work, and when did you start using it every day?
Sure. So I will say, being on the design side, I started first on sort of the visual generative AI side. So I started playing with Midjourney, which is an image generation tool, probably mid-2024. And it completely blew my mind in terms of its capabilities. I just really hadn't imagined what was possible. And so that really kicked me off. When I first started using it, I couldn't sleep for days. I was so amazed at what it could do. I didn't start using it at DK probably till later that year, once I started to realize how we could hook in tools into our workflows. So it wasn't until really the holiday break I started tinkering a lot more.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think really first started to use AI at an MBA program I was in 2023 when some of the other students were showing me some of the things that they were able to do and how much easier it made some of the assignments and how really powerful it was in kind of putting together something very polished very quickly and spending more time on the ideas and less time on sort of the polish portions. And I was using a lot of ChatGPT at the time for that. But I think for me at work, I really, really got excited about generative AI tools for software generation sometime around December of 2024, where I think we saw sort of a lot more of an advancement from just sort of generating code on demand to actually modifying software and a sort of a larger scale where we actually have these agentic solutions that are running locally on your machine. And I think that's what has really been very cool for my team.
And I feel like just AI in general has really boomed in the past year. It's become mainstream and people are gunning to learn more and trying to be the top of their game with it, especially in tech as well. So how are you empowering your teams to use AI too? There's so many different use cases. So how are you really helping teammates use it in their day-to-day work?
Well, I would say something you just mentioned, Jeff, about starting to use it for code generation. It really hadn't occurred to me until end of last year when I was playing a lot more to think about AI as a thought partner as you're building out or solving whatever problems are in front of you. So that was really an aha moment that I had when I was trying to solve, how could we on the fly generate assets in Figma using our components. I went to AI and was really asking, how would I write a Figma plugin for this? And it generated the code for me. And it was something that I probably could have figured out, but I'm sure I would have sunk 8 hours into reading tutorials. And instead, it just generated the code. I plugged it in. It worked. So I really encourage my teams to think about AI as a thought partner first. So whatever it is, the challenge that you're facing, think it through. I think, the models have been getting better and better at that, especially with 5.0 launching. And really, I think starting to think about things that you've been faced with as challenges in the past, they're starting to get removed, or where you might have asked to get more support or resource in the past. How can you think about AI as something that could improve that process? So, and I will say I'm in an AI role now, so it's easy for me to encourage people. Everybody around me is in that space. But even when I was on the design side, just consistently showcasing how I was using AI and elevating folks who were using it and doing tutorials to encourage folks to start to play and experiment and learn through play.
I think a lot of engineers on my team are very excited about AI because it is obviously such an amazing breakthrough in capabilities that we have in order to do our jobs. That really the biggest thing that I've been trying to work on for my team is just removing the barriers such that they can adopt it. There's a lot of things you do have to be worried about when you're using models, particularly when you're using models that have access to all of your source code. And what we've really focused a lot on the engineering team is just getting sort of good setups that provide good context for models running locally, for people who want to deploy models to production, making sure that we have the right guardrails in place, making sure the right data privacy stuff is in place such that we're able to really able to protect our interests while enabling people to play with the latest and greatest. And so I think, we've had pretty good success with cursor adoption on my team. A lot of people really love using Claude Code, and a lot of people really love using GitHub Copilot. And so just making all of those tools very available, very well supported, I think that's probably the most important thing that we're doing, because people want to use it to make their job better. It's just getting all of everything else out of the way.
Totally.
And when you're first starting too, I feel like there's sometimes where for non-technical users, the tech side of things, it's like, whoa, I can't get into it. This is technical. But what I found with AI as a non-technical user, you can really just, the prompt engineering is really where you can get the magic out of it. So are there any projects that either of you have worked on, tech, non-technical, that have really been like, wow, this project was incredible and AI really helped me make an impact?
Yeah, I will say last year we had a big initiative around implementing the ultimate host brand positioning and implementing the tone of voice across all of our copy that customers interact with. So there was a really big effort working with external research partners, working with our creative team to define a tone of voice, which is great, and we would have done that regardless of AI. But I think having good fundamentals like that really opened up the path for us to, not just use creative to do the first pass of rewriting copy across our apps, but then make it possible that we didn't need to have a copywriter taking in every single request. So essentially, we wanted to equip our design teams to be able to, on the fly, write copy with an ultimate host tone of voice. So we developed a custom GPT to do that. So I think that was a really great project for AI to support it.
Yeah, I can think of some software projects where we were able to really, really quickly build out a proof of concept showing that something wasn't going to be that hard and really understand where the stumbling blocks were, and do that in hours, where I think previously we may have gotten stuck saying, okay, when are we going to find the time in order for someone to go out and even understand what the sort of art of the possible is? And instead, even one of my directors or someone who might not normally be able to kind of write code because they don't have the time to be able to do that can go out and do a proof of concept and show that something is going to work very, very quickly. And then that allows us to make much more informed decisions about what we're going to do later. So even if it's not something that we're going to immediately see in production, it's something where we can very quickly understand and prototype and play around with, and just really we can do all these things that allow us to move so much faster in our decision making, because we can pull decisions farther to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So you both have been on the hiring side of bringing in new teammates, and now we're really incorporating some AI questions and AI qualifications into the entire process. So when candidates are coming in, and what should be expected of them with their AI knowledge or AI competency?
So I think right now it's a really great time for generalists where, AI can really be a specialist in so many different fields. So anybody that's coming in that has qualities that they really can see the bigger picture and connect the dots and know how to use tools at their disposal to create something big, I think that's a real benefit. Being really willing to experiment and play in a space that you don't have expertise, I think, is a must. And really, on my side, it's people who are builders, who are willing to get their hands dirty. I think this is true for any product manager at DraftKings, but particularly with AI, I think taking a hard line that, that's on the technical side and I don't really understand that, it doesn't really work in this space. Like, we need to be really comfortable all playing together and shaping these AI tools. And it's so new and the technology changes so quickly. They're really, you can go around saying you're an expert, but your expertise is going to expire in a few weeks, essentially. So I think somebody who's willing to understand that and constantly keep their knowledge growing with the market is extremely important.
Yeah, I very much agree. And I think in a lot of ways it actually hasn't changed what we're looking for all that much on the engineering side. We've always been looking for people who are very interested in keeping up to date in the latest technologies, who are very interested in trying new things, who are looking to push boundaries and use the right tools for the job. And now all that we're really seeing is that there's new tools out there, and we want to see people who have been naturally curious about using those new things. Same would have been applied to, other technologies as they came out in the past. Mm-hmm. So it's really just the same types of things, but now there's sort of a whole new set of technologies that we're expecting people to have wanted to been familiarizing themselves with.
And even the culture here at DraftKings has always been about that innovation and always pushing the boundaries and using as much tech and trying to figure out the best ways to solve problems, right? And I feel like with AI, we've also seen a little bit of a culture shift here at DraftKings where people are embracing it. People are excited about it. They want to know how they can incorporate it into their workflow. So what have you guys seen from as a culture standpoint of how that shift has happened?
I think it's been immense, just the messaging from leadership, from managers, from individual employees, the channels that we have available on Slack, just the amount of activity and people gravitating to the technology. It's been incredible to see. And I think especially being on the hiring side, I've seen that not a lot of enterprises have taken the same approach. So when somebody's coming in and demonstrating their abilities and answering questions about AI, it's usually because they've been doing it on their personal time because their company is not embracing it. So it has been really great to see that. I think also in just speaking with different vendors and getting a perspective on other clients that they're working with, it does feel that we have really embraced the message, not just from the top down, but are elevating voices from the employee base as well. And I think just I'm an example of that. I came from the product design org. I was a participant in the hackathon. I really got interested in this space, and DraftKings obviously were really open to mobility and moving people across the org, and that helped me move into this new role. So I think it just demonstrates that we're really looking to identify talent and embrace the technology and just allow folks to innovate, not just for the immediate business goals, but I think also just to upskill our employee base for whatever is next that we try to go after.
Yeah, I think there's just been a ton of excitement about all of these new things. I think at DraftKings, there's always sort of an appetite for more. There's always an appetite to do more than we have the resources for. There's so much that we can do. I think we're always trying to find new ways to get creative and deliver even more for our customers. And I think there are so many people who are excited about being able to do things that we couldn't do previously with all these new tools that we're seeing really widespread adoption where we're giving people access and they're excited to use them.
And we're not only using AI internally, but even through our products too. So how are we incorporating AI into our products to help improve that customer experience?
So I think that there's a really interesting blend of where the admin or producer side of the experience meets the user experience, and you see that through personalization. So a lot of our internal applications actually do end up making it to the consumer, where we can understand what a user likes and make sure that we make it really easy for our operators to deliver against that. So I would say that's one of the biggest areas. Also, of course, in our CX and customer service side, there's sort of predates the establishment of this central AI group.
Yeah, I think we are very much a customer-first company, and we really care a lot about our customers. And I think that lends itself to sort of this natural, little bit conservatism around what makes its way in front of our customers, which means we're seeing a lot of AI end up sort of providing input into what our customers are eventually seeing, generating ideas that our customers are eventually seeing, but probably not so much directly changing the experience without some sort of human already in the loop or other types of, I think it depends on how you think of the models, but other types of models that are involved in making decisions that are less generative in nature.
Yeah, and actually I want to add something in there about we don't want to just deliver AI for AI's sake. It really is at the service of the customer and what their existing needs are. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be front and center. So I think notably you haven't seen from us some flash in the pan, generate your homepage with AI or some feature that is sort of just quickly leaning into that. I think it's a bit more fundamental to how we are operating.
There's 100 different tools out there and they're constantly changing, but what are your personal favorite AI tools that you use every day?
So we have a new tool that we've been using called N8N, and I'm extremely interested in it because I think it essentially gives you an easier, more visual, and more accessible way to do agent building that is very similar to how engineers are doing it on the back end with code. So we are currently building out tools and tutorials and enabling folks across the business to be able to build out their agentic workflows. And really it takes, the employee journey from using ChatGPT to building custom GPTs to going a step further where you're interacting with our enterprise data and able to create agentic workflows that can take actions for you without you, using a conversational interface.
That one I've tried a little bit, and it's super cool.
Awesome.
Like that, I love playing with the different tools because it just brings so many ideas too. Like you're just able to be creative because you can see what it can help you with and how you can implement that and make a huge impact on your work.
Well, I think that's a really important part of the process is that it's really not a waterfall process of defining an agent where you can kind of get away with that in some traditional software development, although of course I prefer like an agile methodology, but you really are like sculpting an agent as you're using it and doing prompt tweaking and giving it more semantic context. And I think it really is an experience that is somewhat playful, and giving individual users the tool to do that and quickly see the responsiveness is really important, rather than writing a spec and going and having a meeting and talking about the requirements. It's a very sort of like living thing that you're shaping along the way.
I think we've actually found NNN very powerful for prototyping, where if we're just trying to figure out what is possible, what can we do, what might be really valuable, playing really quickly with something in NAN has been very, very helpful for my team. I think personally, the other thing that I've had a lot of success with that is kind of been fun to play with is getting some of our internal MCP running locally and connecting to all of our enterprise data on my own machine, and then being able to script against that with agents running locally and have sort of automate things that previously I probably wouldn't have had time to do, but get myself back closer to some of the technology and really be able to play around with that. Mostly using Claude Code, but other people are doing very similar things with Cursor at DraftKings.
I think we've seen a lot of really interesting use of Cursor that maybe wouldn't have been predicted when we started to roll it out, where rather than using it to generate code that you would eventually run in production, I think in a way people are using it along with MCPs to be their own personal agents. We even have designers that have played with Cursor and are building out UI, and I guess it's a use case that I wouldn't have predicted, seeing how people are using it for data analysis and customer research.
We have engineering managers who are using Cursor for things that are absolutely not writing code, but just as a way to orchestrate a bunch of tasks against data that they have good access to via the MCPs that we've made available to them.
Yeah,
and that must be so exciting for you both to see. We implement these tools, and our teammates just take it and run with it, and really try to see like where they can incorporate it in all of their workflows. So what energizes you most about AI for the future here at DraftKings?
I think seeing different people that you wouldn't expect kind of build things that surprise you. I just had a meeting a week ago with some folks on the ops side on Sportsbook that were building these complex flows that I just think it's been very cool to see the technology be a magnet for ideas. And so that really excites me because I don't feel alone in this AI group that we need to scale up this big group to be able to build out use cases for the company. It's just great to see the knowledge and skills distributed and the amazing ideas that are emerging from that, especially from people who maybe they didn't have the resources in the past, they can actually execute on those ideas with the technology.
Yeah. I think I'm also very excited by how quickly things are moving. There's been, we'll run into problems where, I'd really like access to Slack to be able to pull some data from Slack or get the output of whatever we're doing in Slack. And, it has taken a little bit of time, but we're very rapidly adding new and more connections to this that are kind of getting deeper and deeper into all of our enterprise-wide systems. And I think it's very exciting to see that combined with the improvement of sort of the rest of the industry mean that there's things that 3 weeks ago you couldn't do that you can do now. And that's changing every 3 to 4 weeks, which is really, really cool to see.
One thing I've been really impressed with is how our leadership has really embraced AI too and really wants managers and teammates across all levels to just use it and try it. And one way I definitely saw that was through the AI hackathon. You mentioned it, Celeste, and I feel like that was a really pivotal company moment of bringing teams together, bringing ideas together, and really showcasing how people are using AI in their work. DK Hackathon is where teams got together, had an idea, and pitched it to senior leaders and leadership to see how they're incorporating AI into their workflows. We had a winner. It was really just exciting to see the initially, like, how people are using it. So what did you guys think of the hackathon? And, I feel like that is really core to who DraftKings is that culture of, okay, let's bring teams together, let's have a competition and see what we can do with it.
Yeah, I think what's so great about a hackathon is it creates the space for the ideas that you might be sitting on that aren't, immediately applicable to what's in your roadmap. It sort of gives you permission to be able to experiment and, showcase an idea that you've had. So I thought it was a fantastic way to get people quickly spun up, that we had environments that were set up where, I was able to learn about how you use Bedrock and swap out models. And it was great to see people from different teams. Obviously, a huge part of the engineering group participated. For future hackathons, we're definitely wanting to make sure that we make it more accessible for more folks across the organization to join.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I think we actually saw pretty good adoption outside of engineering in the hackathon itself. I think if you look at the top 10 teams, a lot of them had substantial or entirely non-engineering makeup, which is pretty cool to see that people were able to do a lot without software engineers. And I think that does speak a lot to the where we'll eventually see us be able to deliver a lot more value in the org.
I also think it was cool to see product ideas from engineers. So seeing just full implementations where there wasn't necessarily a product manager or designer on the team. I thought it was really exciting to see that.
Yeah.
It's always cool to see what teams are working on. And for someone just watching, I was really, really amazed. Of course, I used AI to help me write this podcast script and help me figure out the questions. So I asked AI, what question should I ask you both? And it wanted me to ask, if you were to create your dream AI product, what would it be, or an AI tool that you would really want to have in your toolkit right now?
I think my answer here is very much a non-answer, because I think AI has lowered the bar in many ways to try things out and do things. And I don't think there's any, I have a lot smaller of a parking lot of ideas than I did 6 months ago, because I can go and spend a couple hours and go and try something. And then I can get a lot better of a feeling of, is there something here? And so I don't have this deep parking lot of ideas anymore, because I'm able to experiment and try things a lot faster than I could before.
I think that one thing that is pretty cool, to your point about being able to ship and build the things that were in your parking lot, is that you realize a lot of the things that that technology doesn't change is working with people. And I think in some ways, automating things can allow humans to do more human work and have more human interactions. So some AI applications that I'm sure somebody has built and they exist, and maybe we even talked about this actually, are I would love to have tools that help me to continue to build the relationships with the folks that I'm working with. And I think we talked about disk analysis, which is one of the things that we do internally. I personally sometimes need a filter to take my D style and take it down and reframe what I'm saying for somebody who maybe is a C. So I would love to see different tools like that really help our human interactions and don't just help us produce and automate work.
Right. Because at the end of the day, too, AI is enhancing our work. It's not taking our work. And I think that's been a big message across the board, too. It's just helping you work smarter, work faster, and be able to get the most impact out of what you're doing every single day.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was a great episode.
Cool.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media at DraftKings Life, except for LinkedIn, where we're simply DraftKings. This podcast is available on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, we got you. Be sure to download, listen, and even throw us a 5-star rating. Thanks so much and have a great day.